Hey everybody. So I just had to come at you guys today and tell you about something that's developing in our with our Canadian government and their ever progressingly ridiculous ideas. So you may have heard over the last few days, maybe even the last couple of months, that there's been a big stir because of MAID or medically assisted dying. So the Canadian government has a program that is nicknamed MAID, and it allows people to seek out assistance if they have a terminal illness and there is no chance of recovery, and they have made the decision that they would rather receive assistance in dying than to continue on the course of the progression of their illness. Well, the Canadian government is in the process of tabling legislation. Let me see. I believe it is called Bill C. I think it was called Bill C1, but I don't have it. I've got several screens open here right now, but I don't have that particular one at my fingertips. But it doesn't really matter, whatever it is called. One of the things that they are putting in the legislation is they're putting in the legislation that if you're disabled, you're also able to, you will also be able to seek out MAID or medical assistance in dying. And so what's been happening lately is people from Veteran Affairs have actually called veterans, disabled veterans, and said, look, are you aware that you will be able to apply for medical assistance in dying? So these are people that, there's people that have lost a leg in battle and things like that. They are not terminally ill, they are disabled. And they've literally been getting calls from the Canadian government asking if they would like to begin the process of seeking medical assistance in dying. Believe it or not, there was actually one person that was an Olympic athlete. I think it was a Paralympic athlete. And she had inquired about getting assistance to build a wheelchair ramp. Now, this was a veteran. I believe, if I recall correctly, she lost her leg in battle and she wanted a wheelchair ramp, and she was seeking some financial assistance from Veteran Affairs Canada. And Veteran Affairs Canada actually said, well, would you like to apply for medical assistance in dying? Now, I sit here and wonder, what kind of society have we become if we're going to find this okay? But the crazy part is that it gets even worse than that. If you can believe having our government call our veterans and proposing to them that they should maybe seek out medical assistance in dying from the government, if you can believe that that's really bad, it is, but it gets worse. Now the government is saying that they're going to add to the legislation that people with mental illnesses will be able to seek out medical assistance in dying. Now, I don't know what you know about mental health, but let me tell you what I understand about mental health. Mental health is an illness. It's a recoverable illness. It's something that with the proper treatment, you can actually overcome things like depression and anxiety and many other mental illnesses. There are many medications that help people that have mental illnesses. The problem that we have in our society right now is not lack of solutions for mental illness. It's called lack of funding. And crazy enough, guess where that lack of funding points back to? The same federal government that refuses to the same federal government that is going around and trying to promote people seeking out the easy way out, medical assistance in dying, is the government that refuses to put the proper funding into our healthcare system to actually fix people with mental illnesses. So you piece this all together, it points to one of two conclusions, folks. We've got a prime minister, a very privileged prime minister, a very judgmental, privileged prime minister. His name's Justin Trudeau. If you're not aware, Justin Trudeau was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. I'm sure there's lots of Canadians would like to take that silver spoon and put it someplace else, but we're not going to talk about that right now. What we're going to talk about is the prime minister that's become so out of touch that he doesn't even understand that a person that's suffering from a mental illness is not a broken human being. A person that's suffering from a mental illness is a person that can get counseling, a person that can get the help they need, but they need the funding put into the system to be able to help finance that. See, the other problem is Justin Trudeau, maybe he does understand that people with mental illnesses, that there is help for them. So if we go beyond the fact that he's just lived such a privileged life that he can't see that, a broken person like that, has a path to wellness. Okay. If we choose not to make that assumption as to why he thinks that people with mental health problems should just commit suicide, then perhaps the other problem is he just refuses to put the funding into our healthcare system. Now, you see, there's a thing called the Canada Health Act, and the Canada Health Act was formed in 1984. And basically what it was is the provinces and the federal government got together and they said, look, we're going to come up with a formula that's going to help fund healthcare to a healthy standard throughout all of our future. Okay. They came up with a bunch of rules and a bunch of guidelines. And the biggest guideline in there is they said the federal government and the provincial governments will fund healthcare to the tune of 50-50. So every dollar that the provinces put into the healthcare system, the government will also put an equal $1 into the healthcare system, 50-50. Right now, folks, the healthcare system is financed somewhere to the tune of around 77% by the provinces and 23% by the federal government. So, not only do we have a healthcare or mental health system that is grossly underfunded, you saw it when COVID happened. A few extra illnesses, a few extra beds being taken up by people with COVID in critical care, and suddenly a whole system shut down. It teetered on the brink. That was from a small handful of the number of people that were using hospital beds. So you can imagine something like that, something so critical as people that needed to be put on virtual life support, and the system couldn't handle that. Mental health care system gets put to the very back of the bus. It's one of the last things that get funding. And so as a result, this is Trudeau's solution. Well, rather than properly fund our healthcare system, a healthcare system that has been the pride of Canadians for so many years, Trudeau's solution instead is that he's just going to suggest to people that have mental health problems, you can get MAID, medical assistance in dying. That's not the Canadian way. Put simply, that's absolutely barbaric. Folks, it's time to stand up to this lack of a prime minister that we have in Canada. It's time to call for leadership. It's time to ask Justin Trudeau to step down so that we can find somebody that will look out for all Canadians, not just the ones that he deems are too broken to be worthwhile. That's it for now, folks. Cheers.